What's up everybody, this is Austin. I had a request to do some at-home judo workout videos. Now I'll admit this is a bit of a tricky one because judo is a martial art that heavily requires a partner to work with, as well as some expensive mats to land on so you can practice your throws safely. But even if you don't have those things at home and you've just got yourself in a little bit of space, there's still some good stuff you can do. So I will show you that now so you can start building some good habits and get your technique on point. So this is going to be a two-part video. Part one is going to be on the feet, and part two is going to be on the ground work that they call newaza. All right, let's get started. In order to be effective in judo, it's important that you have your footwork down, and there's a couple of elements that will help you get this footwork correct. The first thing about judo is you can't be too heavily planted on your heels. You're going to be too slow. You got to be quick, which means you got to be up on your toes. Now, moving on your toes is one thing, but it's also helpful to develop toe strength, where you can grip onto the ground and really stay balanced on your toes with your heels up, so that way you can execute throws with balance and power without losing your base, but at the same time you can be agile, right? So something that helps me is to remember what they call namba aruki. Sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation for any Japanese out there. This is a style of walking and running that they used to do in Japan for messengers and whatnot, and they did it as a way of conserving energy to go long distances, almost like the Pony Express back in the day in the States, right? Now, what this means, I just call it the samurai walk. So as opposed to twisting the upper and lower bodies separately as they're walking, the traditional samurai style keeps the shoulders and hips in line as they move. Now, it feels a little awkward at first, but this really comes into play once you start doing your judo footwork, and it'll help keep everything synchronized as you spin and whatnot. Now, the first thing is you got to be able to have balance on your toes. So first thing you want to do is grip the ground with the balls of your feet, splay your toes out a little bit, get nice and wide, and I pop my knees forward just a little bit to bring the weight onto the ball of the foot. So even if my heel is touching, I'm still weight forward, and I can rise up on the ball of the foot if necessary. Moving on the ball of the foot is much more efficient if you're trying to be agile. Heels down is good if you're trying to be grounded. It's got its time and place, but for now we want to be quick. Now, in order to practice this balance, I'm going to do that namba aruki samurai walk up on my toes in all directions, right? So I'm going to walk forward, backward, and go sideways. Now notice, similar to boxing footwork, I'm not bringing my feet too close together and I'm not getting too wide. You want to have a relatively natural shoulder width-ish stance, and wherever one foot goes, the other foot follows. Because anytime you're too narrow, it's easy to get swept. Anytime you're too wide, you're generally going to be based out, and then you're going to have uchimatas and whatnot coming up the middle. So once again, on the toes, forward, backward, side to side. This is something you can just practice on your own time, okay? Now, next thing that I really enjoy practicing to make sure that I've got that balance right and that toe strength right, is what I call judo squats. So rather than the typical toes flared out, heels down, butt back type power squat, which is great for lifting weight, the judo squat's a little bit different. So I want to be on the balls of my feet. My feet are going to be parallel, heels up, and I'm going to, with a straight back, attempt to sit down on my heels and rise up from the side, down, and up. Right now I'm going nice and slow, which is the way you're likely going to want to start as you're working on your balance. But as you get a little more comfortable with this, you can relax your legs a little bit and allow gravity to drop you faster. And then from there you can explode upward. So that is something that's going to come in handy when you need to do any type of turning throw that involves getting your center of gravity lower than theirs. So one more time. feet parallel on the balls of the feet, lower down, come back up. When you get a little more comfortable, let yourself drop, come back up. And remember, I'm not putting my butt backwards. We want to have a straight back here. So if I were to throw Ippon Sewi Nagi, for example, pulling them through. Once you've got the general idea of how to balance on your toes and move around on your toes, and you can start getting a little bit quicker with your movement, you can apply this to your throwing techniques. Now, the first one that you need to know, likely the most important, is what I call the turning footwork. Now, I'm going to break this down step by step. This is a great way to learn it, and then eventually you're going to smooth out the corners, so to speak, to make it effective, right? So with the weight on the balls of my feet, I'm going to start by stepping my right foot in front of my left foot. Now notice heel is up here. I'm still facing uke. Now from here, knee bends, weight shifts forward onto this, so I can pick up my back foot, place it behind, and notice I'm turning, so my heel is starting to point that direction. Now at this point, I'm on the balls of both my feet, and I want to spin 180 degrees right there. So one more time, weights forward, right in front of my left, weight shifts forward, back step in my left, turn 180 degrees. Now you can do this right side, left side. I would recommend doing both. Training symmetrically is more difficult, but it pays off. Good way to do that is to have a line or something. Right now I've got a line that you can't really see, but it's helpful to make sure that you're not too far to the left, too far to the right, and so on. So easy way to do it. Right, left, turn around. Left, right, turn around. Right, left, turn around. Left, right, turn around, and so on. Now, something else I like to do, I used to do this back when I was a newbie, is I would take something like a chair, and I would use this as a barrier to make sure I'm getting close enough to the opponent, but not too close. Now, the legs of the chair is similar to the positioning that I might find my opponent, especially starting off learning a throwing technique. But something that you'll realize once you start trying to throw a body is that there's a sweet spot of getting just close enough without getting too close. Now, if this were to be the position of my partner, if I step in too deep, I'm gonna knock them backwards, and with their weight going backwards, it's hard to now take them forward. On the opposite end of the spectrum, if I step too shallow and there's this big gap between us, they're gonna be way behind me and all the weight's back here, and there's no way I'm gonna get them over the top. It's just not gonna happen. So I can use this to find out, because this is gonna be specific to you. It's gonna be specific to the size of your foot, how long your legs are, your posture, and all that sort of stuff. So I wanna get as close as possible without knocking it backwards, and a chair is a great way to do that. If you have two chairs accessible, you can go back and forth. So I can go right side, left side, right side, left side. Now, you want to, like I said, get as close as possible without bumping into it. You're gonna have to find that sweet spot and make sure that your balance is right at the end. So after you do that turn, you could drop into the judo squat if necessary. Just in front. Just in front, that's what we want. And once you've got the basic piece by piece, step 1, step 2, step 3 footwork down, you got to speed it up. Now this is helpful to have a partner, or once we get to the point that we're using resistance bands, you can practice this as well. Now what I'm going to do is eliminate step 1 by having that foot in advance already. So when I'm in my judo stance, I like to have my right foot forward just because that counterclockwise turn feels natural to me, whereas while I'm striking, I generally have left foot forward. You're going to find out what works for you. But by having this foot forward already, I've already started the initial step. All I gotta do now, I've skipped step 1, so now we've got step 2, step 3. But I'm gonna take it a step further. Step 2 and step 3 are gonna blend. So I've got step 1 eliminated by having my foot forward, and rather than stepping and then twisting, I'm going to step and I'm gonna swing my heel beside my other heel, and that's going to initiate the turn. So you'll notice once you get comfortable with this, it's much faster, and this is a great thing to practice moving backwards if you have an uke available. So we've got step 1 already, step 2, step 3, all at once. So what I'm doing here with this trailing leg is important. So I'm not just stepping like I did when I learned it originally. I make a big circle to begin with. So here's an exaggerated version. Here, I make a big old circle and I'm dragging my toe, keeping contact with the mat, and this big circle becomes a small circle and tightens up real close to my heels to pull everything in. So, was here, and that becomes one motion. Much quicker. You're already here, big circle, pulls in, heels together. Big circle, pulls in, heels together. Notice how quick that flips my hip. Now once you get comfortable with this, you can start adding the drop, and this is where things get dynamic, right? So I'm here, go back to that Ippon Seiri Nagi example. Normally I would kazushi, back step, drop, get underneath, pull them through. But I'm already here, kazushi's happening. As I pull them in, I'm gonna pull myself below them, right? One motion. So step 1, step 2, step 3 just becomes step 1. So we're here, we're pulling them, you're doing whatever you gotta do to off balance, get them extended, and that motion this way can be used almost like if I were trying to hit the ground faster by pushing off the ceiling. So I'm pushing off of the pulling motion to suck myself in below them, right? So turning footwork. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Once you get comfortable, work left and right. Start adding the drop. And then when you're feeling a little more comfortable with that, speed it up a bit by having one foot forward and pulling through and dropping. Once you get a little bit of time in the gym or the dojo, competing with sparring partners and drilling partners and whatnot, or doing any competitions, you'll quickly realize that knowing a technique and even having the technique down well is often not enough. You have to have a proper setup as well. So we've got our turning throws. I've been using the example of Ippon Seiri Nagi for that one, but they're not gonna just let you do it, right? So if they stay there in one spot and your timing's great as you get good kazushi and get underneath them, yeah, it might happen. Or maybe they're coming into you and you duck underneath, yeah, it might happen. But chances are, especially in a judo competition, they're gonna be pretty good at defending it. So you need to have a type of footwork or a type of motion to off balance them and then keep them off balance. And while you keep them off balance, that's when you fit in for your throw. So if you look at the way the throws break down, traditionally it's kazushi, which is the off balancing, Sukuri, which is the act of fitting into position, and then Gake, which is the follow through, okay? So kazushi, very, very important. If you don't have the off balancing, it's not gonna happen. I like to use this particular footwork to set up my throws, especially those turning throws. Now this type of footwork, I don't know if there's a name for it. I just call it Tai Sabaki, just means body movement. It's almost like a dance, right? Now, I actually use this all the time in Muay Thai clinch, but it works just as well in Judo. So pretending I've got a dance partner, what I'm gonna do, let's say that their feet are in front of mine. The first thing I wanna do is step to the outside slightly. So if I were the person getting turned around, I would want to aim for outside of their pinky toe. Now I don't need to step super far this way. I just need to get outside of the line of their pinky toe. So what I would do is I would go step 1, and then I would use that same circular footwork the way I did to turn into my throw as I hold onto them to bring them around to trade position. Now if I do right side, I'm stepping outside the pinky, and then I'm circling using this, and body is staying connected with that same Nambaruki type alignment, right? So my shoulders and my hips, everything here moves together. I'm not turning my shoulders and then hips. I'm not turning my hips and then shoulders. They're moving as one unit with my feet. So I'm stepping out, turning around, stepping out, turning around. You can do this either side. Of course, want to be on the balls of the feet, right? Now what's great about this is when you get this motion down, it'll often put them into an awkward position that actually makes your throw a little bit easier, right? So imagine if you are being held onto and controlled by someone doing this footwork. So me as Tori, I've got my grip, my sleeve grip, my lapel grip and all that, and I'm stepping out. And as I swing my leg around and turn, they're getting pulled around the corner here. Now, if you're the person getting pulled around the corner, as they come to the outside and trade places with you, you need to widen temporarily and twist a little bit in order to maintain that connection where you're facing them. And that is a moment where they can take advantage with foot sweeps or turning throws, right? So rather than being here, they come in for a throw and you just say no, you get turned, you say whoa, and then all of a sudden you're flying, right? So this turning footwork pairs well with the foot sweep footwork I'm going to teach you next, and the turning throw footwork as well. So with that example of the Ippon Seirinagi, let's say I've got my lapel grip, got my sleeve grip. In this case, I'm going to step off to my left side. I'm going to turn around, bring them around the corner. Now notice this time, rather than doing a full 180-degree turn, I'm going to step and I'm going to start to turn them, but I'm going to leave this foot forward, ideally bringing them in front of me here, and I've eliminated that first step of the twist. You can pull them through right there. So to exaggerate without the feet, just so you see what's happening with the body, I want to have this right foot forward, assuming I'm doing a right-sided throw, and I'm bringing them here, so that way I don't have to twist as much to complete the throw. If I have to do a big old rotation, it's often too slow and they're going to see it coming. If you can make them do some of the work for you, it'll be much easier. So how I want you to practice. Before, we had our throwing footwork, and then we added a drop, and you can twist into it quickly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to step left, bring them around the corner, turn right. This time I'm going to step right, bring them around the corner, change directions, pull them through. So notice I'm twisting clockwise, counterclockwise, right? That's my preferred direction to go because I like those right-sided throws, but it's up to you. Now, great thing to do here, if you have a grip of the head or a high collar, you can bring them down, reach over the top for your ogurumas. If you're good at pummeling, you can step, bring them around the corner, pin your elbow, swing through for your ogoshi, harai, whatever you want there. Of course, the example of the Ippon Seirinagi. So I'm stepping, pulling, coming up underneath the shoulder, yanking them through, right? So it's a dance we're playing here. Got this. We got this. Now I'm going to combine them. Right there. Remember, your goal is to be nice and smooth to start with, and then you can speed it up as you get more comfortable with the technique and you get more uchikomis, and you can start kind of sanding the product down to its finished product, right? So in addition to having good Tai Sabaki or body movement to get the person where you want in order to set up your throw, it's also helpful to have some preparatory attacks or some feints, things you can do to offset their base and make them think about one area of their body while you're attacking another area of the body. Good way to do this is with foot sweeps. So if you got your typical kumikata kind of grip, you can push however you want to step into it, and when they're getting pushed, they're going to set one foot back or the other. And a good thing to do right off the bat is to attack a Dashi Harai. So as I push them, if this left foot's forward, I can sweep that through. Now when you're doing your Dashi Harai, be sure to turn your foot inward, and I'm going to slide along the mat. And all I got to do is take their foot, push it in front of their other foot, kazushi them to the point where their foot used to be, they can no longer catch themselves, they fall down. So I love Dashi Harai because you can push and you can sweep this way, or you can sweep this way from the same grip. It's really nice. So you can step in, boom, 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 right? Almost like a little dance. So good thing to do when you're starting, push, try to sweep right off the bat. Now if you get the sweep, great, but if not, you'll get a little bit of feedback, which is important. So sometimes you'll slam into what I call a tree trunk, whether your timing's wrong or what. You hit that foot that you intend to sweep, but it's not going to budge at all. When that happens, that's the chance to transition into something else. More often than not though, assuming that you've got good power and good kazushi, when you start to attack a foot with a sweep, they'll often move it to try to regain their balance and try to get that away from you so they don't get caught, right? So by coming in and attacking those legs, you can get them to start taking steps backwards, which will open up your next attacks. Now, easy one, this Dashi Harai footwork. This is one you can practice on your own, with or without a resistance band. It's a great one to do with a resistance band for the sake of building that kazushi power. Another one I like to do, especially if you're attacking right foot forward, as I tend to do, is what my judo teacher used to call the tick-tock footwork. So what I do is I bring in this base foot, so I've got something right here, and I'm gonna attack the ko-uchigari, trying to off-balance them this way, and immediately attack the o-uchigari this way. But here's the trick. I can sweep them, sure, but I can also use it as a feint. So what I do is I'm bringing in my base foot, in, base foot, out, base foot, in, base foot, out. So this is that tick-tock footwork, and if you do it well, what happens is you start bumping their inner thighs and you get them to fumble their footwork a little bit and get the position for the throw you actually want. So that looks something like, right? So I don't have much distance to practice it, but I'm going boom, 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 boom. Hopefully you can see that. So, got the Dashi style, attacking the outside of the foot, and we've got the tick-tock, we're attacking the inside, attacking the inside, attacking the inside, attacking the inside. Now what's great is you can start to get what you want from there. So if I attack the inside and he takes his foot back, that opens up a lane to come through with my bigger throws, right? So I can attack, and it's like, oh, there's my harai. Or come in for the o-uchi, and they start to step back, then that's the position, come through for that turning throw, right? So you can use these footwork patterns to open up their stance and set up what you actually want. So many different options you can do there, but it's just food for thought. So drills to do at home, easy way. This Dashi footwork, get nice and comfortable with it, going forward and backward, because it's always available. You can always attack that foot. And another good one's that tick-tock kind of footwork, okay? Give those a shot. If you've spent any time in a judo dojo, you'll know that uchikomis, or fitting into drills, is one of the primary ways of developing speed and power. And doing this with a partner is by far the best way to do it. I recommend doing it if you can. But there are certain things you can do on your own at home that will mimic the same idea and help you build power, especially kazushi power. So I'm going to do just a couple basic ones with a resistance band. Now this is just a cheap resistance band I happen to have sitting in the closet that will do the purpose right now. You can also do things such as bike inner tubes. The thicker ones work a lot better, but that's something that my sensei used to have me doing before. So one of the favorite things to do, especially if you don't have anywhere to hook onto, like I currently don't right now, is to work that Dashi Harai footwork. So nice strong resistance band. I'm going to work that same sliding footwork, and if I am sweeping with my right foot, I'm going to be pulling over my right shoulder. That way I know to keep them close. One of the biggest problems that beginners have when they're doing Dashi Harai, Sasayashi, all those type of propping foot sweeps, is they tend to go too wide with the hands, when in reality you want to keep them nice and close where you're strong, right? So you're gonna have to do this 1 foot at a time, so you can practice. Right side. Work that pulling power, right? Do the same thing, left side. So I'm sweeping over the left shoulder now. And this motion's great because not only does it work for the sideways Dashi Harai, if you were to apply that same taisabaki footwork we went over earlier, it's the same exact motion for Sasai Sotokomiyashi, right? That's once again a throw you can do from the same grip, either right or left. You just got to make sure you step out of their way, turn your body, send them flying. Now you can use this to work the TikTok footwork, but it's not quite the same because you don't get the same kazushi effect, but it does help you build good habits. So I'm going to keep this a little bit of tension here, and as I sneak this base foot in, I'm going to do my ko-uchigari and o-uchigari. Ko-uchi, o-uchi. Ko-uchi and o-uchi. And what's great about this resistance band, although it's not necessarily making me much stronger, it helps me to build good habits by not overreaching, because it will keep my leg relatively close to my body, and close is safe. You'll notice that when you try to sweep someone and you get overextended, that's where problems come in. You want to keep it nice and close to your base. That's where you're safe, right? Right here. This can help you build that habit, so just keep a little bit of tension. In, out, like so. Okay everybody, if you made it this far, I appreciate your time. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, hopefully you learned something, got some ideas of some stuff you can work on at home. Obviously getting to the gym or the dojo is the best course of action, but sometimes you can't, and it's important to be able to keep yourself sharp on those in-between moments, or if you don't have access, and so on. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you would like to see more like it, get subscribed, and please feel free to give me some suggestions on what you'd like to see. I'm here to help. All right, thank you.